found you, faker!
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here.
Metal Sonic has been a part of the franchise since the very beginning. The concept is simple. Eggman makes robots, Sonic breaks those robots. Eggman makes robot to break Sonic. After everything Eggman has ever built, Metal Sonic is still considered his greatest creation. At least, that's the idea. But Metal's history is complicated. Not only is there one giant mystery around Metal Sonic, there's two. Well, don't worry, Sega. I'm here to fix your troubles. Hi, I'm Foolhardy. We find answers that don't exist. Today's topic, Metal Sonic's timeline. It all began with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but not the one you're thinking of. Along with the Genesis, Sega had two 8-bit consoles, the Game Gear and the Sega Master System. So while Sonic debuted in 16-bit, 8-bit versions of Sonic 1 and 2 were made to be played on those consoles. Calling them D-makes is a bit of an understatement. They're more like different games entirely. In 8-bit Sonic 2, we come across a boss in Scrambled Egg Zone. This is the first robotic Sonic to ever appear in the series. He's got silver quills, crab claws, and big, goofy goggles. 8-bit Sonic 2 likely isn't canon, but this exact design has reappeared in Sonic Mania, as a badnik called Silver Sonic. It's a small robot that's pretty weak. I will only be looking at this version today since it's undoubtedly canon. Moving to Sonic 2, the Genesis version, Def Egg Zone gives us an all-gray Sonic that serves as the first boss of the final stage. Now to make things confusing, fans often call this robot Silver Sonic. I don't blame them, it was the name used in Archie Comics. But no, this is Mecha Sonic. No, not Metal Sonic. M-E-C-H-A. Mecha Sonic. Based on Mechagodzilla. Again, I don't blame the confusion. After that game, Sonic CD introduced the Metal Sonic we all know and love. A blue, sharp-edged machine with red eyes and a rocket booster. But that's not where things end. At the end of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you come across a very long and spiky robot in Sky Sanctuary Zone. The official name of this character is Mecha Sonic Mark II. Obviously, an upgraded version of the first Mecha Sonic. And because everything comes in threes, Mecha Sonic Mark III also exists. It's an Easter egg in Sonic Adventure, but other than that, there's not much information. Now, 5 Robot Sonics is already kinda confusing, but where it all crumbles apart is the order of events. CD is the third mainline game to be released, but chronologically, it takes place after Sonic 1, but before Sonic 2. This means that Metal Sonic appeared before all 3 Mecha Sonics and Silver Sonic. This has perplexed people for years. After making his greatest creation, Eggman goes on to make weaker versions of the same thing. On the surface, this feels like the Sonic games aren't consistent, which is probably because they aren't. But that doesn't mean there can't be a reasonable explanation. In fact, I think I've found one. So, come along, as I tell you the trials and tribulations of a mad scientist. First question, is Metal Sonic actually stronger than the other 3? Everyone always says that, but maybe that's just favoritism. In each one's boss fight, Silver Sonic can jump and spin dash. That's about it. Mega Sonic can jump, spin dash, charge dash, and shoot spikes. Not bad, but nowhere near Sonic's level. Mark II is pretty interesting. It does everything Mark I does, but it can also pilot an Eggmobile to attack. In Knuckles' side story, M2 can absorb the power of the Master Emerald to gain a super form. While it only lasts 15 seconds, he's completely invincible and shoots projectile rings. You know, pretty big improvement. Now, what can Metal Sonic do? Oh. Yeah, I won't sugarcoat it. Metal Sonic beats them out in every way. He's stronger, more durable, and the only one that can keep up with Sonic's speed. Sure, a super form is cool, but Metal has that and can become a whole dragon. He even goes beyond the constraints of a robot and can copy a character's biological powers, like Shadow's Chaos Control and Silver's ESP. While the other Sonic replicas are definitely stronger than a regular Badnik, none of them hold a candle to Metal Sonic's abilities. The only logical conclusion is that Metal had to have been built last. Now I want to be clear, I don't think Sonic CD has a different place in the timeline. I think Metal Sonic is the first replica we see, but not the first one created. There's a clear evolution in design and capabilities. Silver Sonic is a small, mass-produced unit, a very early prototype. Mega Sonic is the first life-sized unit. He can mimic Sonic's moves, but he's too bulky to be a speedster. Mark II was a lot slimmer and more agile. He has a good level of autonomy, using different combat strategies. At the same time, he can't seem to maintain his speed outside of short bursts. So there's still improvement to be done. We've never seen Mark III active, so I don't think Eggman finished this model after the first Megasonics failed. With his next design, he finally cracked it. A fully functional robot that was Sonic's equal, with a few extra abilities on top of that. You see, greatness doesn't happen overnight, but I definitely think it's possible for somebody with a 400 IQ to finalize the design so quickly. So then, why do we see the prototypes being used after the final version? Well, just like how an artist doesn't throw away their concept art, you wouldn't just scrap fully built robots. You'd keep them around for spare parts, or emergency backup. A stark difference between these robots is that Metal Sonic is the main threat in Sonic CD. He's on the box art, he holds Amy captive, he's the one corrupting the past, at least his projections are. Whereas the others feel more like distractions. Roadblocks for Sonic and friends while Eggman revs up his real trump card. Now let's say, for example, if Metal Sonic wasn't around for Sonic 2 and 3, using the Megasonics as support alongside the Def Egg robot would be a decent substitute. Now I could sit here for hours thinking about all the ways Metal Sonic could be absent from these two games, but I actually don't need to. Look, not much happens in Sonic 4, but it does have one interesting plot point. In episode Metal, we see that after CD, Eggman just kinda left Metal Sonic on Little Planet. As a reminder, Little Planet only appears for 1 month a year at Never Lake. After that, it vanishes out of existence, which we see in both the good and bad ending of Sonic CD. When it reappeared again, Eggman sends a drone to wake up Metal Sonic. He comes back to Earth, gets repaired, absorbs a purple orb, you know, the usual, With this information, we actually have a cohesive timeline for these robots. After failing at South Island, Eggman started development on a robotic Sonic. He made several models, but none of them were good enough. After perfecting his Sonic doppelganger, they sought to conquer Little Planet on its yearly visit. They gathered the 7 gemstones that can bend time to their will. No, not those ones. There we go. Of course, they failed. But Eggman was in such a hurry to get off the planet, he failed to make sure his prized creation got off too. Metal disappeared with Little Planet for the next 11 months. But world domination waits for no Badnik. So during the invasion of West Side Island, a former model was brought out of storage to be the front line of defense for the Death Egg. While the plan failed, Eggman did get valuable information. Discovery of a super form using the power of the Chaos Emeralds. Useful information, especially with the discovery of Knuckles and the Master Emerald. When bringing Mark II out of storage, it was upgraded with the ability to absorb chaos energy, maintaining a short-lived power form when in direct contact with the Master Emerald. Despite his best efforts, that still wasn't enough to stop Sonic and conquer Angel Island. After enough time passed, Little Planet reappeared, allowing Metal to return, and the rest is history. So yeah, it takes a little bit of thought, but I think it can work. Also neat and clean and... Oh, come on! So remember how I said Silver Sonic appeared in Mania? Well, the thing I left out is that he's part of Metal Sonic's boss fight. This is the second mystery I alluded to. Recently, Sega has released an official Sonic timeline. Within it, Sonic Mania is placed after 3 and Knuckles in the classic era, but before Sonic 4, which is the start of the modern era. And it's not just Mania. Metal Sonic appeared in a lot of classic titles. Sonic R, Sonic the Fighters, Knuckles Chaotix, Sonic Drift 2. None of those are on the timeline, but they are referenced in canon media. How is Metal playing an active role in these games if he's supposed to be deactivated in this era? There's 2 options. Okay, there's only one real option, but I have to cover all my bases. We've seen Eggman create copies of Metal Sonic with the Phantom Ruby, the same one used in Sonic Mania. As far as we've seen, Ruby copies are almost indistinguishable from the real deal. The thing is, Eggman only has the Phantom Ruby during Mania, and doesn't find it again until the prologue of Sonic Forces. That still leaves all the other games unaccounted for. However, there's nothing saying Eggman couldn't have made real Metal Sonic copies. Eggman's whole strategy is making a giant army. So why not fill that army with your best soldiers instead of the crappy insects? On the other hand, Metal is much more of a character than a Buzz Bomber or Eggpon. That's why there's only one Omega, when logically there's nothing stopping Eggman from making more. It's generally not good writing to ruin your villains by making 100 of them. Still though, I think there's enough evidence to believe it. I know I keep going back to Mania, but there's one last thing I haven't mentioned. The background of Metal Sonic's boss fights shows us test tubes with what appear to be other Metal Sonics. So that's it? Theory confirmed? Metal Sonic understood? Well, not yet. I think there's more to this story. If there's more than one Metal Sonic, why doesn't Eggy just use them all? Yes, the one in the tubes are broken, but again, why not just fix them? We're back at the first problem. Why bother using weaker robots when it would be more beneficial to work on the stronger ones? Strange, isn't it? For some reason, it's like there can be only one Metal Sonic at a time. Wait a minute. The Japanese Manual of the Knuckles Chaotix gives us vital information on Metal Sonic. It says that after fighting Sonic, Metal's body was too damaged to be repaired, so Robotnik transferred his CPU to a newly built body. Now that doesn't completely line up with Sonic 4. Metal's damaged, but still operational in his original body. But we live in an age of advanced computers. You don't need to switch the physical hardware to a new device. As long as you have the data backed up, it can be uploaded digitally. We see this happen in Sonic Frontiers. The ending to the base game had Sage sacrifice herself to kill the end. But after the credits, Eggman brings her back by retrieving her data from his computer and presumably builds her a new body. Metal is just as sentient as Sage. It wouldn't be possible to split his programming across multiple robots. That or one Metal is all that Eggman can handle at a time. Sonic 2 and 3 happened back to back after CD. It makes sense to use the prototypes on short notice, but after that, he'd have enough time to build new Metal Sonics and upload his consciousness. I can't believe it. Sega had their cake and ate it too. Metal Sonic is just the one character, he just has multiple bodies. Everyone we see between CD and Sonic 4 was basically the equivalent of Metal using his spare trousers. So just to recap, Metal is the final version in a line of robot Sonics. The Mecha Sonics were never meant to be used, but saved just in case of an emergency. And after Sonic CD, Eggman dropped his iPhone on Little Planet, so he logged into his @TotallyTheRealSonic account on all his other devices. Thankfully, Eggman remembered he had the first Metal Sonic linked to Find My Badnik. He picked it up at the dry cleaners and let his greatest creation have a second existential crisis. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now if you don't mind, I have a project to finish. Let's see here... Wait, what's that? Engage Hyperform.